We have authenticity by the bucket load. I'm not wearing any makeup this morning as usual, and not as, yeah, half the time. I am a creative person who has a hard time finishing her sentences. And this is where I practice talking to a camera. We talk about creativity, we talk about writing, and then at the end we pull tarot cards or oracle cards. And I'm trying to keep my energy up so that I don't seem like a real downer because it is dark in here, even though it's the morning and I haven't gone to work yet. And so sometimes it's easy for me to fall into like more of a lower vibration energy when I'm talking to you. Yesterday, we talked about the tarot and how to read it. And today, let's go in a totally different direction. Hmm, let's talk about one of my favorite books. Ooh, wait. You know what I want to talk about? What I want to talk about is the the screenplay that I'm writing. So every day I've committed to and have to keep recommitting to writing a page in my screenplay every day. The goal is to be more like James Gunn and write 5 pages a day, but I'm not quite there yet, and 1 page is better than no pages. If you write 1 page a day of a screenplay, by the end of the year, you'll have 1.5 movies. Or 2 actually, you'd have 2 movies. So a movie, I don't know if you know this, but for a screenplay, each page delineates a 1 minute of airtime or screen time in general. It's not always the case, but it's pretty close. So, yeah, if you write 365 pages in a year, that's, 120 minutes for a 2-hour movie times 2, that's 240. So you'd have time, also have space for editing. So 1 page a day is a perfectly respectable number of pages in a day. What about you guys? Are you guys writers? Who here is a writer? Tell me down in the comments below. Uh we we are here, we're building a little community here where we're learning how to overcome the feeling of cringe, or rather to embrace the feeling of cringe, because this is where creativity is found. This is where being yourself is found. And where's my book? Okay. I think I must have been reading it. So I was on the couch reading it, but we've been looking at the book Women Living Deliciously by Florence Given, which talks quite a bit about the feeling of being cringy and how really when you're feeling cringy, it's usually because someone is expressing themselves with no regard to what other people will think. And that's actually a really good energy to be in, except it scares the daylights out of us because we're we're afraid of being kicked out of the tribe. And often when we're cringing, it's usually because we might be seeing somebody, there's sort of bleh. It's almost an expression of our shadow, because if we're cringing when we see somebody else, they may be doing something that we feel uncomfortable, like we might want to do ourselves, but feel uncomfortable doing. So it's always a good, like if you're feeling cringy about something, maybe take a look at it, because it might mean that that's where some of your own fears are about yourself. Now, today, I am kind of running a little bit late today, and I want to get to my job at a reasonable time today. So we're going to get right into the tarot. Today, I'm going to be pulling from this one. It's called the Mystical Moments Tarot. And I think so. It's the illustrator. When you look at it, you think, oh, maybe AI did it because that girl has 2 heads. Nope. actually, so it's a woman has collected all sorts of images that are public domain, and she's combined them into sort of a collage style, like collage style images for the tarot. So they are all, illustrated by other people in the past, but it's public domain, so it's been there for a long time. And then she pulls them all together into a sort of story. And if you can see, this looks like a pretty thick deck. It's because she's also added 10. Ooh, how many extras? She's added like maybe just 4 extra. She has extra cards of certain things, like for the king sometimes, so she'll have like a man being a king, and then she does another version where a woman is a king. So it's a very feminine heavy deck. And it doesn't really resonate with me on many levels. Like, I don't use this one very often, but there are certain images which I think are awesome. Like, look at this one. This one is so cool. This is King of Cups. So obviously it's her female version of a king. And look at her hair. It's like this Medusa octopus hair. And then she has like a ship going through, and then she's wearing this dress that looks like Tilda Swinton's dress in the Chronicles of Narnia when the ice starts melting. I don't know. It's just a very evocative image. And so I bought this deck because of this particular image right here. Now, so I'm going to just take a moment and listen to possibly what someone out there might be asking. So sometimes I will do this and I just listen, and it's I just am open to what somebody might be asking. So I'll close my eyes for a second, and I will run the risk of having dead airtime on a radio show and and find the question that needs to be asked today. Okay. So this question keeps coming up. Please show me how I can best be myself. And we just talked about how cringe things that make us cringe sometimes reveal to us where we're not where we want to be ourselves but are not. I will say this. On my first date with my husband, I came home and we had spent just time talking, and I was a single mom at the time. So I probably had I don't know if you've noticed, but like sometimes stay-at-home moms, when you meet them at the grocery store, they just want to talk about a lot of things because they haven't been around people in a long time, and they're lonely. And so when they get to be in the company of intelligent people out in the world, intelligent adults, they just start talking and everything just spills out of them. I think I was probably in that place in my life at that time. So he took me out on a date, and I just remember talking, and he was just laughing at things I was saying, and I think I was funny and I was engaging and I was just being myself. I have no idea what I talked about. I just remember he was like an audience to me. And I came home and I was like, I think that's what it feels like to be myself. I didn't really know what it meant to be myself. I was the third kid. And so, third kids in a family often are molded and managed by their older siblings. And so, being themselves doesn't even really get out the gate because you have somebody that's older older than you that cares about you, that's like, don't do that. Don't do that. No, that you're embarrassing yourself. So I was formed in that shadow. And so it took me until I was about 36, 37 before I really knew how to be myself. And so today, the feeling that I get is to ask the tarot, please show me how to be myself. All right. So if you're asking that question, then this is for you. I'm going to shuffle the deck. I'll show you how I'm shuffling it. Some cards, if you're ever borrowing someone else's cards, be very gentle with them. You don't know how expensive the cards are or how hard it is to get that tarot deck. So always be gentle. Some cards you can do an actual, like, you know, Las Vegas shuffle, but others are pretty much too hard to do it like that. So I'm gonna think, please show me how best to be myself. And I guess to a certain extent for me, I was being myself. It was like a feeling of being myself rather than specific actions. All right. Now I'm going to cut the deck. Actually, this one, like, sort of, when I lifted the deck for a second to show you, one card stayed on the table. So I'm going to pull that one for my first one. And this is called this is the Tower for present moment. All right. Why don't we take a look? You can take a look at that for a minute. What do you see here? Before you know it's actually the Tower card, ask yourself, what do you see? I see a woman who is almost embracing this volcano, embracing this building that's crumbling. It looks like her hair is in smoke, and then there's smoke all around the building rising up into the air. And then there are these beautiful mountains behind her. Okay, so that's the Tower. A lot of people might freak out with the Tower card, but it's an invitation to look more closely at something. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right, so now I'll cut the deck where it feels like it wants to go. And so for roots, we have the Star card. And for invitation for next steps, we have the Six of Wands. Okay. I'm going to just put these together the right way, and then we will look at what we have here. So the Tower, let's talk about the Tower. I don't very often pull the Tower. On occasion, I will, but it's pretty rare. So I don't know it as well. The Tower is part of the major arcana. And it's number 16. So the major arcana is sort of illustrating a journey. You start out as the Fool, and then you go through different stages. And it's like you're meeting these people along your way. So you meet the Magician, a High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers, the Chariot, Strength, Hermit, and then you go all along your journey until you come to the end. So the tower. Now, the tower was at the bottom of the deck, by the way. And the star card is right after the the tower in the major arcana. But I want you to know that when I was shuffling, the tower was on the bot, like the tower was right here on the table when I lifted it up. And then I cut the deck in the middle, and then the star card was in on the top in the middle. So take that as you will. On this card, we see a woman grasping a tower, attempting to prevent it from collapsing. But the tower, which is situated on a volcano, is already beginning to explode, and there's nothing that can stop the destruction. A big crack is splitting the building, and rocks and dark ash fill the air. The woman's hair has turned into smoke, so she is unable to extricate herself from the traumatic event. Yet the tower may represent falsehoods and deceptions that need to be destroyed. Okay. Well, eh, to me, this is what I see in relation to being ourselves. So, when we are our true selves, there's a lot to us, right? We have shadow parts to ourselves. We have the things we're embarrassed of. We have our past where we may have made decisions we wish we hadn't made. And I'm sure we have a lot of decisions that we're glad that we made. So the tower, it looks to this is what I think. If she's trying to prevent it from collapsing, or she is collapsing, I'm seeing this for me, and take it as you will, but to me it almost seems like trying to hold on to the ego. It's like an ego death. So we're the ego so here's the thing. I don't really believe in ego death the way other people do. I have more of a I really appreciate the internal family systems understanding of what the ego is. That being said, there is something meaningful in the idea of an ego death, meaning you're you're allowing a part of you. Now in internal family systems, it's not so much a part of you dying. You're not allowing a part to die, but you're finding a new way for that part inside you to quiet down. So, but in an ego death situation, it's more like this part of you is this part of you wants to survive so much. Like your ego is so keen on either protecting you or protecting itself that it becomes the loudest person in your head. And so it's not you, the consciousness you, or the purest version of you that does most of the talking in your brain. A lot of times it's like this idea that it's the ego taking over everything and wanting to run your life. Now, with internal family systems, it's a much gentler idea that it's just almost like a little family of kids down there that are all just trying to protect you, who stepped forward when you were little and something traumatic or scary happened to you, and they're just trying to save you and keep you from falling into the same trap again, which is not exactly the most adaptive thing, because as an adult, you don't necessarily need someone to tell you it's too scary to talk to a person, or it's too scary to talk on the phone to someone, whatever the case may be. And so it it represents, so to me this looks like, for it represents a person who has all these beliefs that have not been serving her very well. And they're all starting to crumble, but she's still trying to hold on to those beliefs that aren't helping her because they're safe, or she perceives that they're safe. But at some point, these beliefs may need to fall so that we can move on with our lives and embrace a better future and grow. And so if we're holding on to things that are preventing us from growing, that might be a good invitation to look at that and say, what am I holding on to that's not serving me? What's crumbling? I mean, this building is like built on the top of a tornado, not a tornado, built on the top of a volcano. So it was never a very good building in the first place. And yet she's desperately grabbing onto it and she's going up in flames with it. So, what are we grasping onto that we think we have to be or have when it's really not serving us? What are we holding on to that we could let go of? And what if we knew we were going to be okay? She doesn't know she's going to be okay. She's grabbing onto it, and in the next minute she could be dead. But we know that the tarot goes on beyond the tower. So, and the next card in the tarot is the Star card. And so, okay, so this is the roots. This is so how can we be like the question was show me how to be more of myself. And so maybe let go of some things in the ego, let go of some false beliefs that our parts may be hanging on to, or trying to control the situation to keep us safe. What things are keeping us safe but aren't letting us move forward? So that's the question for that. And then the Star card. So this is in many tarot decks, she's usually kind of a naked woman and she's out um filling up a like an urn with water. And she's kind of the water bearer. But in this one, we see a fairy holding a star at the end of a wand. And she's in something looks like the Taj Mahal. And, for the purposes of this, you can just let it be the image. It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal. It could. That's what's great about the tarot. You might see something in there that is immediately a sign for you. Let that be a sign for you. Let that be enough. And, you don't have to say, if to you the Taj Mahal represents true love or someone taking care of you, then let that be the sign. It doesn't always go back to what the artist intended. The intention is to have you see things that maybe nobody else would see in that picture. And she's sort of sitting on all these leaves. And it's very ethereal, and it almost seems like she's floating or even in the water, but she wouldn't have wings if she's in the water. Or would she? We don't know. The Star card shows a male figure. Oh, that's a male? Okay, wait a second. Yeah, all right. All right, to be fair, he's totally facing away from the viewer, so I just thought it's usually a naked woman. All right, so here we go. The Star card shows a male figure with the large wings of a dragonfly. He sits on the palace balcony of the Taj Mahal, a symbol of inspiration and eternal love. The figure holds a wand with a bright, shining star and looks into the sky. After the life shaking experience of the tower, he has experienced spiritual transformation and is now filled with hope and faith. His star will lead the way and his wings will uplift him to a higher level. All right, so that's this tarot creator's interpretation of the Star card. I am just going to look at this more generic definition of the Star card so you can see what works for you. By the way, here's the normal tower. And somebody's falling out of it. It's pretty intense. And this is what she says about it. This isn't a subtle card. The Tower is all about chaos, uncertainty, or a shock to the system, which is what happens when there's some sort of an ego death or when you start doing internal family systems. Sometimes it can be, it's very healing, but it might be a little bit disruptive to people as they're sort of uncovering why they do things and when they're going through change. The bolt of lightning represents a sudden, unexpected change and disrupts the foundation and burns things down to the ground. But destruction isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes dramatic upheaval is necessary so that we can rebuild a better foundation. Things crumble only to be replaced. This card can represent liberation and a new beginning. Sometimes we need a devastating storm to clear the air. Okay. Now, the star, this is what the star normally represents. I just read to you the other one. If you If you wish upon a tarot card, okay, see, this is what the normal tarot card looks like. Okay, if you wish upon a tarot card, this is the one you want to see. It's the calm after the storm, peace and hope after a crisis, miraculous rebuilding when all seemed lost. The star represents the power of belief that keeps us going, no matter what life throws at us. Things may have been rough, but now all is well. Okay, so this is the roots, which is interesting. So this is sort of more the past. Maybe we've had peace in the past and we've kind of known what we're doing, but now it's time to really question some of the things that have been leading us through life to see if there's anything that we can let go of to move forward, to return to that peace that we're wanting. So change can be very cyclical. We can learn things and then go on through our lives, and then a year later we're talking to our therapist or a life coach and we're saying the exact same things we learned a year ago, but now we've just learned it in a new layer, like we're on a new part of the spiral. It reminds me of the book Dinotopia. They talk about time being more of a spiral. And the last one, so moving forward, an invitation for next steps is the Six of Wands. I'm gonna first look at Six of Wands from this perspective, from this book. Okay. An accomplished woman rides triumphantly on a beautiful hummingbird. She has conquered the bird by attracting him with a colorful flower. Having mastered many skills, she is filled with pride and a deep sense of accomplishment. Others acknowledge and applaud her success as well. Now she can go on with her journey whenever she wants to go. 6 doves sitting on top of her riding stalk look down at her in admiration. Okay, do you see that? I guess we should have talked about what we see in the image. But it's very, I like this deck is fun because it's very dreamlike. Okay. So the guidebook doesn't say much, it just describes what's in there. So I'm going to go here to the Six of Wands to remind myself, oh, okay, so it is sort of a triumphant thing. I don't get this one very often. So the Six of Wands shows a triumphant figure on a horse surrounded by a cheering crowd. The energy is optimistic, as if to suggest an inevitable win. Mission accomplished. An inspirational leader who brings the team to victory. Get ready to step into the winner circle. Okay. So I like that she keeps all of her descriptions brief. It's helpful so that you can kind of use it as a springboard to see what you want to see in the card. And so for next steps, I'm not seeing much of an answer there, so I'm going to pull one more card as a clarifying card. So, okay. This one. So let's go with the story. So here's our present moment. So, present moment, we may be going through a lot of change and upheaval in our lives, not maybe in our external life, but in our internal world. If the question is how to be myself, then this shows us that we've maybe been really struggling and trying to move past habits that we've done in our like habits we've had in the past to try to break the cycle of certain things. And this shows the maybe you've been holding on to things that are crumbling and you need to let them go. Always up to you. It's always up to you to see what you see in the card and let that be your signal or sign or nudge from the universe or God to let you know what needs to happen or to show you what has been happening because this is present moment. So maybe before you had quite a peaceful life, and maybe this is letting you know that it was peaceful, but it hasn't been so peaceful lately. But to rest assured and trust that everything's going to work out. And trust that everything's going to work out and that you will have success and there will be things to celebrate coming up and everything's going to be great. You know, everything's going to move forward. This is not the end. Just because things are breaking down and there's a lot of insanity, this this is your future, a beautiful bright future. And so more for a clarifying card, I pulled the Empress. And this is an interesting Empress. It kind of so the Empress is often depicted as a woman who is pregnant and she's sitting on a throne. So this one kind of reminds me of that, but the artist has shown us like a little pink peek into the baby inside of her. And it's a pretty far down place to position a baby. Anyway, because I don't know. That's not where the baby was when I was pregnant. But this, it's kind of this whole, it represents life and abundance. And I mean, she has the Empress usually has a bit of a stoic look on her face. Let's see. And there's something else. Oh. It looks like she's holding a crown and it looks like she's holding a little tiny crown and getting ready to place it on the baby's head. So, I am curious to see what that says about that. See what the book says about that. All right. The Empress. She stands outside enveloped in luxurious nature, lush green trees to either side of her, and blue skies above. In this scene of abundance, everything about her shows her deep connection to nature. She is the archetypal Earth Mother. Her dress is full of blossoming flowers. Within her lily skirt, we see the stamen and the pollen, which represent sexuality and fertility. The pregnant empress tenderly cradles her unborn baby under her dress. She holds a crown in her hands, ready to place upon the baby's head as a gesture of protective love. So, again, she has very evocative and provocative images in this deck. So with this one, to clarify to clarify our answer, this may be to just hold that energy. It could be an invitation to hold your ground, hold your energy. The Empress is usually depicted as very much she's in her place and the abundance and the world and good things collect around her. That's how I often see her. And it may be an invitation to be out in nature Like, be in nature while this is happening to you, and understand that destruction and regrowth and rebuilding, that's all part of nature, and it's the cycle. Things break down, and things break down and die, and then things are reborn. And so let her sort of be just sort of a guiding presence. Let the Empress, that archetype, sort of be with you to hold your ground and know that everything's going to be okay. You'll return to peace, the peaceful way that you normally are. You're going to return to that normal state, but you're going to be triumphant, more in a way that you're going to be better off. This past maybe wasn't as full until you've had this experience here in the tower. And once you sit through that, using the help of kind of thinking about this Empress energy, maybe with that help, then you'll you can wade through the storm and come off triumphant. Okay, that's today's reading. I hope it resonated with you. If it did, please let me know in the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And